Hey friends, welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. This is Bandit. Yes, he's a Pomeranian Sheltie cross. He's a good old boy. He's starting to get sick though. He's 13 and a half now. Yeah, but you're doing okay, aren't you, buddy? Can I have a kiss? Nope, no kisses today. Let's put you down. Some people were asking about you. And this is going to be a review of the BPS Knives Colibri. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. That's Ukrainian for hummingbird because BPS Knives is a Ukrainian knife company. This knife they've had made in China at one of the knife OEMs, and I'm going to tell you all about it and in detail. Almost everything else, and I think everything else that they make is actually made in Ukraine. They do a lot of fixed blade knives. And I've got some of them, and I will be reviewing some of them, but at least one of them. So yeah, this knife, and I'm going to do a teardown. I'm going to give you a complete list of measurements that I did myself. I like to be thorough and detailed, so my videos are not short little, snippets of frivolity and just sharing somebody's feelings. A lot of knife reviewers unbox a knife and call that a review. Not me. I've carried this thing for a few weeks now, and I've used it, and I've cut a bunch of stuff with it, and I'm going to tell you all about that and my experience. Now, thanks again to Simon. Simon is a viewer from Denmark who bought this and sent this to me. So thank you again, Simon. Now, just before we get into it, a little bit of an announcement. There's a viewer named Robert. He's a bucket knife collector, and he's looking for a few specific knives. If you have one of these or know somebody who has one of these and they're willing to part with it, email me at canadiancuttingedge@gmail.com and I will put you in direct contact with Robert, and you guys can decide if you want to make a deal or not. Now, here's the knives he's looking for. The 323, that's a Canadian Tire only knife. Now, a lot of the knives that have buck labels that are available at Canadian Tire stores are not listed at the Buck website. They're not for sale anywhere else. Now, Buck does this a lot. There's another knife, the 304. Now, that's a Walmart USA knife. So we won't have seen it up here in Canada. So he's looking for 323, 304, and two tin sets. The tin set has the 348 and 349, and the tin set that has the 350 and 352. So if you've got any of those knives and you're willing to part with them, email me, canadiancuttingedge@gmail.com, and I'll put you in contact with Robert, and you guys can work that out. Now, even if you're watching this at a later date, there's a good chance that not all 6 of these knives are just going to go his way before the end of 2025. So if you're watching at a later date, go ahead, email me if you have one of these. And the worst case scenario is, we say, okay, he's already got that, or he's not looking for it anymore, or whatever. Best case scenario, hey, he gets his collection closer to complete. So without any further ado, I want to thank you. Hopefully I've earned your subscription or will earn your subscription throughout this video. And if not, I thank you anyways for taking a chance on Canadian Cutting Edge and taking a look at this knife. We're going to have a lot of fun in this video, so stick around. So here is the Colibri. This is the show side. It also comes in black G10 with a satin finish blade. The Colibri, Ukrainian word for hummingbird. So this, well, it's not a very little knife. This is over 3 inches in the blade, 3.1 inches. So it's not a tiny little knife, but it does have some elegance to it, some really nice lines and everything. Let's take a look at the other side here. We've got the pocket clip. It's a right side only pocket clip. Here we see that it's got Sandvik 14C28N stainless steel, and there it says BPS Knives. Now this is, I think, their only knife that's actually made in China. So it's made at one of the Chinese OEM knife factories, and they've done a really good job on it. If you watched the unboxing video with this, one of my viewers sent this to me, and he sent it to me disassembled so that it would definitely get into Canada without any problems. And So when I put it together, we've got dual row ceramic ball bearings in there, and I will take it apart on camera so you can see it all the way. And this is, a good steel. Now the badging on it, yeah, it's a little bit bigger than I prefer on a knife, but it's not terrible, and the placement's okay. We've got an upswept blade, full flat grind, thin edge, and we'll tell you all the measurements a little bit later on. And we've got a handle that, sweeps down. It's got a little bit of a hook right there at the tail, but it's actually very comfortable in hand. It's got a very natural style, feeling in the hand, a really nice grip, and I'm quite liking it. Now, I've got to go get Bandit before we go any further. There we go. I brought him down here into this room with me, so he's going to be calm now. What was I saying about this knife? I'm very fond of it. I'm glad, Simon, that you got me the black wash version. I really do like a nice black wash finish more than a satin finish, and this is a really good looking knife. A couple of the extra good things about this, well, not extra good. The pocket clip's not extra good, but the pocket clip is good. What's extra good is little things like pin here for the lanyard. Nicely done. And then we've got 2 pins there, hourglass shaped pins to help hold it together. Now those pins are underneath the G10. This one pin goes right through so you can loosen it from the G10. And that is if you were going to take the pocket clip off. And you can certainly take it off and use it without a pocket clip, as some of my viewers prefer. But the pocket clip is actually quite nice, and I'll show that to you. We've got a liner lock, and if you take a close look here, the lockup on this liner lock, it's further in than I prefer, but not by much. It's a decent lockup. There's still lots of room for it to wear over. They've got a nice little chamfer in here. It's easy to get your thumb in there to disengage that lock. Even with my left hand, it's not a problem. And then I just use my index finger to lift up and then get my fingers out of the way, and you can close the knife. Certainly with the right hand, it's a little bit easier, but it works okay in my left hand as well. A little bit of jimping on the side of that lock release, if we'll focus on it right there. But nicely done. Blade alignment, it's right down the middle, just like I want it to be, so that's kind of nice. And the G10, it's 3D milled, it's very comfortable in hand, and looks good, so that's worth a little bit extra money as well. And a couple of things that are just a little bit odd. If I remember correctly, when I was putting it together, I can't put this show screw side, like the side that doesn't show anything, on this side. But this side doesn't look bad. You get your screw head there and a screw head there. And this side, you've got a nice, the smooth, what is normally the show side would be on this side. Yeah, not a big deal, not a big deal at all. But the way to actuate this knife. Now this is where I think this knife is not for novice knife users. If you're gonna buy this knife for a gift for somebody, only buy it, in my opinion, for somebody who knows how to handle knives and is used to using pocket knives, especially used to using flipper knives. Because what we've got is, I'm gonna call this a friction flipper, end flipper, front flipper. It does not have your typical tab that you flip, that's sticking out and you flip it. It's got a little bit of an extension. The steel sticks out a little bit. And we've got just a little bit of jimping there, and then we've got the side where the lock interfaces. And I like to grab right over it, so my finger's grabbing right in front, a little bit into that steel that you can see that's silver looking, and it deploys really well. The detent on this thing is just dialed in very, very well. So it works pretty close to like a traditional flipper, but novices, I think, are gonna have a tough time getting used to that, and they're gonna be doing a lot of this and taking a while to get used to it. And those who like to reach over with their thumbs and grab onto the jimping out front here, that works as well. I just don't really like it, partly because of the arthritis in my, especially these 2 main joints in my thumb. So I don't find that very comfortable. But in my left hand as well, it just works really, really well. And I'm pretty happy with that. And the jimping goes all the way around and ends up being jimping on the spine of the blade for your hand. Now, I wouldn't mind if that went a little bit further, but You've heard me say that on so many videos that it sounds like a broken record, doesn't it? But the jimping's actually pretty decent. It's good jimping. And lockup, yeah, no blade play, side to side, up and down. It's a very solid lockup, very comfortable. Now, one of the people who commented on my unboxing video for this said that they would like there to be a thumb stud. Now, I did a video about these add-on thumb studs quite a while back. I'll put a link to it up here and down below to make it easy for you to find them. I put one on here, and yeah, it works okay. On this side, it comes in there, it clears everything, and you can open it up just fine using thumb stud. You can turn it either way so that the grippy part's on the other side or whatever. It just goes on with the little set screw, easy enough. But it doesn't quite, if you can see that, it doesn't quite fit snug all the way down, and that's because it touches the G10 right there. It clears it on this side a little bit. So if you really can't get used to doing it, applying, this or, the thumb over, then, hey, you can get these, you can get them in antique brass, you can get them in, just steel like this, you can get them in, regular brass, you can get them black wash, all kinds of ways. Of course, a black wash one would probably look best on here. And it's just a very slight modification, except for the lock release, the liner lock release moves over. So you'll have to, take off a little bit of that steel as well. And then that's going to create a shiny spot, or just be happy with that tiny little bit of exposed edge right there. And then you got a thumb stud. The stud's out of the way for most cutting. You might get a little bit in the way if you're cutting really close to the heel of the blade, but it works just fine. So that's an option if you really want to do that. Let's go over all of the sizes and dimensions that I have. They're very close to the dimensions that are on the website, but let's go over these anyways. 72 grams for mine. That's what, 2.54 ounces? Not bad. The sharpness of this knife on my tester, with my testing, I got about 190 bests. That's good. It's not awesome, but that's good. And it did perform well on my cut test. Cutting and slicing works really, really well with this knife. Oh, and I forgot to say it before, this knife is not really a stabby kind of knife. You've got very little in terms of protection for sliding your hand over. You just got that little bit of jimping on both sides there. So, but for slicing and cutting, because of how thin it is, well, how thin is it? That's not this next measurement. I'll tell you in just a few seconds. First, the cutting edge length, so the tip to the heel of the blade in a straight line is the same as the tip to the closest spot on the handle. 78.9 millimeters, 3.1 inches. So this is an over 3-inch blade if you live in one of those jurisdictions with 3-inch laws. Sorry about that. The blade thickness at the thickest point is 3.01 millimeters, 0.1185 of an inch. So not bad. That's a little under 1/8 of an inch, but not an awful lot under. Where are we going next? Blade depth. That's this measurement. It's largest here, and of course it keeps going smaller as you go up the blade. But right here, 21.3 millimeters, 0.84 of an inch. Now for the thickness behind the grind. And that's where the black wash starts. So on the apex grind, or the sharpening grind, that bevel, that tiny bevel, its thickest point is 0.39 millimeters, 15 thousandths. And that's true, about 10 millimeters down to the heel. That's how thin that edge is. And then it gets a little bit thicker at the tip. Gives a little extra strength at that tip, but it's not super, it's still under 20 thou at the tip. So it's a fairly fine blade all around. The handle length, and I like to measure it having the knife in a, if that's a straight line, having the knife in a straight line, what's the measurement? So tip to this end of the handle. The handle there is 104.3 millimeters, 4.1 inches. So 3.1, 4.1. So that's not bad proportions. The grip area, That's a little rougher of an estimate. That's about 9.5 centimeters, 95 millimeters roughly, or 3 3/4 inches, which most people will be able to handle quite well. My hands this way are in the extra large range, and so most people are going to find this knife easy enough to handle with, not it feeling too small, but it's not too terribly big either. The thickness on the handle here, it is 13.5 millimeters, just over half an inch, 5.53 of an inch. The handle depth, so within your grip when you're holding it, what's the widest point? And that's right here, and the blade is sticking out, and that's where it's biggest. 23.9 millimeters, 0.94 of an inch, so it's under an inch thick. When the knife is closed, it's the same thing because the steel is the biggest point. So it's under an inch thick this way, just over half of an inch that way. And Bandit wants to get out, but hopefully he'll remain quiet over there. The total length of this knife from tip to tail, like I said, it's about 7.2 inches, 183 millimeters in length. So I'm going to go play with Bandit for a minute. Let's do a teardown. I'm injecting this into the order of the video, so it might have an abrupt change in the pace of the video. Sorry about that. T8 Torx screws. They fit in there quite well. They've just got a little bit of play, but the screw head goes in quite deep if you've got good, proper screws. So I've got that started, and let's just do it. Finish taking it out. There you go. A little bit of blue Loctite on there. You can see that blue right there. Not an awful lot. This one's a T6. I'd prefer T8 all around, but it's not bad that they've used T6 here. And again, there's just a little bit of thread locker. It's not blue this time, but you can see that there's a little bit of thread locker on there. And the knife, comes apart. Now, what we have is a small liner in here, and I can just lift that out of the way. I'm just going to push the screw out. Actually, before I do that, you can see that it's a D-shaped screw, and it has to go in that way, and that's why it has to go in from that side, because the... was I going to push that out? Yeah. There we go. Because it doesn't go through very well the other way. I'm going to double check that. Which way did that come out? Yeah, so now everything's falling apart. I'll do that when I put it back together again, but here's the dual row ceramic ball bearings. Very nicely done. Very happy for that. And there's the blade, and there's the serial number right there. And there's my serial number. And small liner here, like they're saving on weight with those small liners. And you have to use another T6 here to take that apart if you want to, take that off. I'm just going to loosen it a tiny bit. I'm not going to take it all the way apart. The pin for the lanyard is right in that side right there. So you can see how, paracord goes through there, and it's protected by these two pins, the body screws. It's just a really well thought out design. A little weight reduction there with those two holes there. It's just a smart thing. I really, really like how they decided to make this knife. Now, let's put these back together, and I'm going to see if I can put that screw in from the other side. Maybe I can. All I have to do is take the screw off the pocket clip side, and then now it's easy to put back together again. You just line up everything, and you can just put it back on there, put it back in there. Now I just need to put the screw back in here, and yeah, it's easy to put together if you take the pocket clip side off. I usually don't prefer taking the pocket clip off because those are more shallow screws. It's a flush T6, so I worked on the button T6 side. But yeah, if you take off the pocket clip side, just be careful, and then it's much easier to put it back together again so that the pivot pin goes in the way that I prefer. But then you got the added difficulty of putting the pocket clip back together again, because the head of this little screw, we'll focus down here. The head of that little screw is wider than the space up here. So now I got to get that screw, fed into there. It's not that easy just to spread these apart to get it in there. So it's just finicky to get everything back together again if you take the pocket clip screw off. But it can be done. I'm just sorry if I didn't catch this all on camera, but I'm very finally, there we go. I got the screw to sit in there properly the way I'd like. And now I can put it back together again. If I get the right driver. There we go. So now I just need to snug everything up properly. Oh, can't do it on that side. I've got to use that side. So snug that side up. Don't over tighten it. Don't over tighten these screws. Just snug them up. With this macro lens, it can be tricky to make sure I'm under the camera properly and that it's got focus. So snug that up and snug this screw up here. Not tight, just snug. And got that snug. Yeah, there's no blade play, side to side, up and down. And the alignment is correct. Yeah. So there you go. I like the show side like that with, the clean, button on that side. Being D-shaped, it's not going to spin. The alignment, it just, without trying, it lines up properly. And no blade play, up and down, just perfect. It just wants to sit right. So they've used a quality OEM to put this thing together. And yeah, I'm happy with that. Actually, just before I show you the price, I forgot to show you the pocket clip, how well it performs in the pocket. And that's quite nice. The knife is nicely hidden in the pocket, well done, holds on well, and it's a good pocket clip. I wouldn't mind if it was a stonewashed pocket clip. It might make it a little bit nicer for this knife, but hey, that's not bad at all. I didn't tie on a lanyard. I'm not a guy who uses lanyards on my pocket knives that much, except for slip joint knives. I often do when they go into sleeves or slips, whatever you want to call them. Then sometimes I use a pocket clip. So without the, then I use a lanyard. So if I took the pocket clip off and used it that way, because it would fit into a nice sleeve, I would add the lanyard. But a lanyard's very easy to tie off here. And just the positioning, the layout of it, that's an ideal thing. How much does this cost? Well, I'm recording this on the week of Thanksgiving in the United States that week. So for Black Friday sales, this is $49.99 US on Amazon. I'll leave an Amazon link down below to make it easy for you to find it. And that's for both colorways. BPS.com, that's their website, the manufacturer's website. They've got it on for $53.40 US, which is a tiny bit more. And they've got it in a number of different currencies. And you can find this knife all over Europe if you want to. So if you're in the United States, Amazon's the place to get this. If you're in Canada, there is a knife store in Canada that has this. It's knifestorecanada.ca. I've never purchased anything from them. They've got it for 95 Canadian shekels, which is a little bit of a premium on, because if it's 50 US, you wouldn't think it'd be 95 Canadian. So unfortunately, Canadians, you're going to be having to pay a premium price for this. If I find other stores, or if you know of other stores in Canada that have this, especially if they've got a better price, please leave me a comment and very clearly state the store name so that I can find it without too much trouble. Is it worth it? Well, yeah. I'm not sure if it's quite worth the Canadian price, but for $50 US, yeah, this is an okay knife, and I think you're going to enjoy it and like it. If you like the other features of it, for the value, if you like everything else about it, I think the price is not terrible. It's not bad at all. Now, I mentioned it in the unboxing video. This knife design was originally a friction folder, so I don't think they've got it in stock anymore, but BPS Knives made a friction folder like this, and with a wooden handle and a carbon steel blade. Not a very high-end carbon steel blade, but hey, I think that looks pretty nice. If they can make it with a better carbon steel blade, I would really like to get one eventually. I'm not in a super hurry or anything, and I'm not asking any of you guys to go get this for me, but I am extremely thankful that Simon got this for me. Let me summarize my thoughts on this thing. What are the pros that I like about it? I like the detent on it. I like the lockup. The detent, I didn't show you how nice and crisp it is when it, just a tiny little, but it holds the knife in. A version of this where there's a nail nick so people can easily, get their nail in there and pull it out. Like this is not that easy. There's not that much room in there to pull it out that way. I'm just used to doing it, and I practiced for the video, so I can do that. But that would be nice too. But a little bit more, if this was a little bit larger here with the steel, and maybe that jimping or a little bit more, had a little more friction to it, then you wouldn't need a proper flipper tab or an old school flipper tab. But I think a lot of people, you're going to get used to it before too long, hopefully. But if you're a knife novice person, it takes a little while to get used to flipper knives. It's just the way it is. But it's okay. The thin edge behind this grind here helps make this a really good slicing cutting knife with decent stainless steel. This 14C28N is nothing to cough at. It's a good stainless steel on a thin blade. Tip work, for doing knife things, this knife actually does a lot of good EDC tasks very, very well indeed. Great ball bearings, and I will take this apart later on in the video to show you. I was going to do that before. I'm saying that was a summary. Well, I'll have shown you I'll edit in the teardown before this part. Comfortable handle. Lanyard pin is ideal. Fairly lightweight for its size, just over 2.5 ounces, and it cuts and slices very well. But it's not a stabby knife. So if you want a stabby knife, I'd get something else that has a little bit more of a guard. Maybe a traditional flipper that becomes a guard when it's open would be for you. Now, what are the cons on this knife? It does have cons. They're just not very pronounced and not very big. Pocket clip is one side only. I'd like it to be both sides. It looks better on here being this way, but I grew up left-handed, so I've sort of missed that, but I've gotten used to putting right-hand knives, liner locks, in my left pocket, and I just pull them out and I use them. And for me, it's not that big a deal, but there's a number of lefties who just don't seem to be able to get used to right-handed knives. And like I said before, the only other con, and it's not that big a deal, is for novice folding knife users, it's not super easy to get used to the flipper there. You'll end up doing a lot of that kind of thing, where you're trying to open the knife and you'll just, it's not, because you don't know how to get your finger in the right spot and then back out of the way, within a fraction of a second to, deploy the blade well. But that's pretty much it. Other than that, it's good. It's not a heavy use, hard use knife. It's, a light EDC pocket knife for the average guy, especially the average city carry, urban EDC pocket kind of knife. And it works well for what it is. I think it's a good, decent knife, and I like it. And it looks good. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.